Unaona sijui unaanza kusema huyu ni wazimu. Unajua tunasemanga kila mtu ni wazimu akifanya kitu kibaya. Mental health should be declared as a national emergency.
Oh, hello amazing people and welcome to our show. In this particular segment, we'll be discussing about mental health. Tumekuwa tukiona vijana huku hivi nje wakicommit suicide. And today we have a visitor and anatuambia jina yake. From there we are going to know more about mental health. So welcome.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Asante sana Wakaba.
Yeah.
My name is Lucy Ngare.
Yeah.
Mimi ni mshauri. In this case, mshauri ni a counselor.
Sure.
And I think I'm in the right setup because today we are discussing about mental health issues.
Yeah.
And that is what, as a counselor, I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
I'm also a mediator. Sometimes unapatanga watu wanazozana na kila wakati si lazima tuende kotini. Sometimes we can go to a mediator who is going to help us to sort out our issues. I'm also a life skills trainer. I train youth about life skills that will help them in their day-to-day life, ndivyo waone vile maisha yao itakuwa inaendelea vizuri. Asante sana.
Very nice.
Okay.
So kwa watu wenye wajui mental health, mental health inamaanisha according to you, mental health ni nini?
Mental health ni well-being, the mental well-being, yani where you are able to, you can be a productive person. It is a state of well-being where you're able to discover your abilities. You are able to lead your day-to-day life and being able to manage the normal stresses in everyday life. Then it's also about being a productive person in the society that you're living in. So it is something that is very wholesome, you know. It is wholesome because it involves you as an individual and the way you relate with people in the society that you live in. That is what, to me, mental health is about.
Okay. Is there a difference between a mental health and depression?
Depression is one of the mental health illnesses. You know, when you're not mentally healthy, you have a mental health illness. So depression is one of the mental health illnesses, and it is something yenye you become sad, you know, and it is persistent. See, one day you are sad and then tomorrow you're happy. Depression is where you have persistent sadness. You feel lonely all the time, and with the time, it prevents you from functioning as an individual, prevents you from performing the day-to-day activities as an individual. Sometimes we see people, there's a lady who once opened up about her depression on Facebook, na alikuwa nasema, she started by withdrawing from people. Akajifungia kwa nyumba, and then she used to do small activities, but then the depression became worse to a point where alijifungia kwa nyumba. She stopped eating, she stopped doing everything, and then her brother discovered about 3 weeks later that she had never left the house. So by the time the brother was going to see her, alikuwa amefika a point ya she would not even get out of bed. So alikuwa anajikojolea, anafanya kila kitu kwa kitanda because the depression was too much, the sadness was too much for her. And with depression, you become hopeless. So hauoni ni kwa nini unaendelea kuishi. So you stop doing the things that make you live well. You stop doing the things that make you contribute to the society. So you withdraw completely and you isolate yourself. So that is what depression is. Mental health, generally, most people assume that mental health ni when you're not well, you're not okay. And most people imagine that mental health is about craziness. But mental health is about when you are okay, when you're mentally okay, and you are able to perform things as you should be performing them. So that is what mental health is. But then, when you're unable to do those things, maybe the thought process is in, you know, when you're not mentally well or you're not mentally healthy, your thinking becomes distorted.
Okay.
You start looking at things from a negative perspective instead of looking at them positively.
And that is what we call mental health illness.
That is what we call now the mental health illness.
Okay.
So most people confuse mental health with mental health illness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kuna any relationship na stress ama are they in one category?
Stress sana sana it leads to mental health illnesses. Kama huyu mtu mwenye ako depressed, maybe it is something that has happened in this person's life. Like for example, inaweza kuwa ni abuse ilifanyika kwa huyu mtu. It can be physical abuse, inaweza kuwa mental abuse, inaweza kuwa any form of abuse. Lakini sasa huyu mtu hawezi open up. Maybe mtoto wa mchanga amekuwa raped, maybe by a relative. Huyu mtoto hataweza open up. So with time, this person keeps these things to themselves and they are not able to open up. So anytime they see a man, they withdraw because they always imagine about the physical abuse that happened to them. I'm just talking about one of the things that can lead to depression. Okay. So what happens is that with time, this person does not open up, and with time, this person is not affected by what happened with them, happened to them initially. So that is how some people end up getting depression. Some people get depression because it is something that happens in the line of the family. The science is still being, some research is still being conducted on finding out what is there a genetic relationship to depression. Some people get depressed because there are so many things that have changed in their life. Like, and these things could either be good things or bad things. Like someone can get married today. They're happy because of the marriage. Okay. But because of the things that are going to change, you know, the lifestyle is going to change, the responsibilities are going to change. So this person, initially it is something happy that happened to this person, but initially, finally they can end up becoming depressed because of that.
Oh, nice. So who can, nani anaweza kuwa depressed? Who can get the depression now?
Yeah, anybody can get depression.
Even me
as a mental health practitioner, I can still get depression. You as Wakaba, you can still get depression. Anybody can get depression.
And what are some of the signs that inaonyesha huyu mtu ako so depressed, ako anapitia something?
Depression, people get depressed, and when they get depressed, one of the things that you start noticing is that some people become withdrawn socially and isolated, such that this person was initially a social person, would go for social gatherings, would interact with people in a social setup, but then this person all of a sudden withdraws. And then anytime you asking this person why they do not want to join you for a function or something, this person does not really have a good reason for that. They might even come for that function, but then even when they come for the function, they are still sad and they are still lonely. So it is one person in a group of around 10 people, but still feeling lonely. They still feel alone even in company of others. Then after that, they start withdrawing, they start isolating themselves. They'll give very fake excuses for all those things. So they'll not attend those functions. So one of the signs is becoming withdrawn and isolated. Then some people have eating disorders. And most of the people, when they're depressed, they start, the eating disorder they experience is lack of eating. So most of the time they will not eat. Most of the times they don't feel hungry. They don't feel hungry and they don't want to eat. Then the other thing is that they become very irritable. Irritated kabisa. Unaambia mtu fanya hivi anakuwa irritated na nakasirika kabisa. And sometimes among the youth, sometimes we look at it like rebellion. Lakini they are going through issues, and in this case it could be depression. Then something else about people who are depressed, they are very emotional. They can cry very easily. They can do things very easily because their emotions are not stable at that particular time. So those are some of the signs that we can see when people are depressed, and so many other signs that we can see when people are depressed.
So now, what happens, unapata mzazi ako na mtoto, anasema huyu mtoto ni kiburi ako nayo, the teenage, the young people, the youth. Unasema huyu mtoto anamwambia kitu wasikii, ama pia kuna kind of kiburi, ama how do you, mzazi atajuaje mtoto wake anapitia something yenye si ya kawaida?
Yenye si ya kawaida. Unajua, most of the parents, I think because of the way we were brought up, you know, like from the previous generation, watu walikuwa wanaamini mtoto ni kusikiza mzazi na lazima afanye chenye mzazi anasema. Whether it is the right thing or the wrong thing, or whether huyu mtoto anasikia kama amefinyika ama hajafinyika, lazima angefanya chenye mzazi anasema. So these parents were brought up, okay, napendaka kusema most of our parents were brought up in dysfunctional families where ilikuwa ni kiboko ama something else like that. So unaona huyu mtoto unaona kama ni kukasirika, ni kama amekuwa kichwa ngumu. Unamchapa anaendelea kuwa kichwa ngumu zaidi. But in this case the parent does not know huyu mtoto anapitia through something. So what we say is, because most of our parents were brought up in dysfunctional families where beating was the order of the day, lazima uobey whether it is making sense or not. So sometimes it is good for parents to do what we call purposeful parenting. Where you can go for some training on the, unajua tunasemanga everybody akunanga parenting manual, si ndio?
Okay.
Kila mtu analea mtoto wake kulingana na vile anataka, but then sometimes we say unajua when a professional comes in and maybe helps you to understand the stages that huyu mtoto anapitia. Unajua teenage inakuanga na mambo mingi sana. Unajaribu ku identify, unajaribu sijui nini, there are so many other things that are happening. So this child anaweza kuwa anapitia mambo mengi sana, but then parents sometimes become ignorant. Nimeweka in quotes. They are ignorant of what is happening to the children at that age. So we say that parents can go for some courses. And we call them parenting courses or purposeful parenting courses. Unaenda unasoma aje. Huyu mtoto, maybe you understand about the emotions that children go through. Understand, you try to understand some of the changes that take place in these children na ni kwa nini wana behave the way they are behaving. And then also, when you're doing purposeful parenting, you try to mentor the child. You know, I think most of us are not mentored by our parents. Tunaambiwa tu ama unaona kitu wanafanya na unafuata unafanya. But then when you're doing purposeful parenting, you mentor, you become a mentor to your child, and then you try to understand the child from who they are, how they are. You try to help them to discover who they are. You try to help them discover their abilities and everything, and then you realize that, and then that's when you're doing purposeful parenting. Children become close to you because they see you as a friend. Most of us, when we were brought up, we saw our parents as grown-ups who must be obeyed. So purposeful parenting brings you closer to the child, and therefore you're able to see everything that is happening, such that at that point you'll be able to know when your child is withdrawing, because they're very social with you. So when you see them not becoming close to you, then you'll know that something is happening. When this child becomes irritable, very irritable, and you're not able to correct whatever they're doing, then you'll know that this child is going through a lot. And then sometimes when you become very close to your children, they will tell you the challenges that they're experiencing. So we advocate for purposeful parenting, so that you're able to understand the child, you're able to move with the child, and the child can be able to open up to you.
So what about now the maternal mental health? What does that now mean?
Actually today we are celebrating the maternal mental health day, the 5th of May in 2021. So unapatanga when most women become pregnant, kuna vitu mingi sana that change in their body. Some of them are hormonal, and these hormonal changes in their body can also have some mental impacts. During pregnancy kuna some hormones that are produced. Sijui kuna oxide, I can't remember the name exactly, the whatever. But then what happens is that your hormone, sometimes it changes some mental, not really mental, but changes something in the functioning of the brain. So unapata, women become depressed. No, you see what happens during pregnancy. So you have become pregnant. You are this very pretty lady who is probably a model and everything, but then during pregnancy, the body shape changes, everything. So it's likely to lead to a low self-esteem, likely to lead to so many other things. So women become depressed. And then on the other side, there's the economic factor. You have gotten pregnant, but probably haujui huyu mtoto atakuja kukula nini. As much as tunasemanga kila mtoto anakujanga na sahani yake. Unajua sasa kama bado yuko kwa tumbo unashangaa sasa akizaliwa itakuwa ni aje. Maybe babake mtoto hayuko hapo hivyo. So these women become depressed, and they pass through a lot. There are so many things. Sometimes kama ametoka kwa familia yenye iko na history of depression, you know, there's something genetic about depression. So unapata this lady has become depressed. So the society inaangalianga a lady who becomes pregnant and gives birth kama anafaa kufurahia. You know, that is what we expect. Mtoto amekuja na baraka zake, tunafurahi. But then unapata there's some women when they get pregnant and when they deliver their babies, they become depressed. Huyu mtu anakasirika kabisa. Some of them don't even want to breastfeed the child. Wengine wanatupa mpaka watoto kwa sababu wanapitia mengi kwa akili. They cannot accommodate that new change. Unajua mtoto anakuja na new responsibilities. So unapata this person is not mentally ready to take the new responsibilities that come with the child. So our society inawaambianga huyo, mbona ulikuwa unapata mimba kama haungetaka kupata mtoto, you know, things like those ones. Then if you're not happy with the child, ama if you don't want to breastfeed the child, most of them will start asking you mean sasa umekataa mtoto anyonya ndivyo mwili iendelee kuwa na hiyo shape, you know. That is what the society thinks. The society is very harsh, inajudge sana, lakini haielewi kwamba huyu mtu anapitia mengi kwa akili yake.
And that one can affect now the baby mtoto mwenye amebeba.
It can affect the health ya huyo mtoto mwenye. Unajua kama zile mafikira zako zinapita kwa nini yako, kwa mawazo yako, ama those things like those ones. You know, when a child is inside there, there's an emotional connection. There's some emotional connection. So whatever emotions unapitia, pia huyo mtoto anapata some. And then some of them even end up being born with some challenges, some mental challenges. Then unapata pia, when a woman is, actually, recent studies have indicated kwamba, after a woman gives birth, 1% of men become depressed. Anapata depression. So so it means that this pregnancy does not only affect the women, it also affects the men. Because when this woman is mentally unstable, na kona vitu mingi sana anapitia, na kona stress zake, hizo stress anapeleka wapi? Anapeleka kwa bana nyumbani, anapeleka kwa watoto wengine nyumbani. So pregnancy issues surrounding pregnancy huwa zina affect the whole family. But most of the times tuna imagine it is just the mother who is pregnant. And then pia some people get pregnant and then either unapata mtoto either you get a miscarriage ama you get a stillborn. So unazaa mtoto mwenye amekufa. So there's so many things because out there people imagine that you see mtu out there in the society unapatanga maybe a lady has been pregnant, amepata miscarriage, lakini watu wanasema nini? Ametoa mimba. So is that lady acceptable again in that society? No. So anapata stress, anapata depression. Okay. So today, being the maternal mental health day, ni kujaribu create awareness. Most people when I imagine pregnancy is just for the person who is pregnant. Okay. But then it is creating awareness on how depression in pregnancy inaweza affect everybody, and then also creating awareness kwamba the challenges zenye mama anapitia through pregnancy pia zinaweza fanya akuwe depressed. So tusione tu ni kama mtu mwenye hafurahi, sijui mtu mwenye hataki nini, naanza kusema alipata mimba ya nini, so that people can now become more accepting and less judging.
Okay. Now talking about men, we have men and boys. When unapata in the community, wanajulikana us now, we are very very strong. But unapata sifai kulia because nitaambia watu nini? Mimi ni mwanaume nafaa kuwa strong.
Nafaa kuwa strong.
How imekuwa ikiaffect aje now the men and boys? Mali unapata now in the family.
Kuna kitu tunaitanga socialization. Unajua ukizaliwa kuna zile vitu unapata zikifanyika. Okay. Kuna zile mambo unajua these are done by men, these are done by women. Na when you are at that, when you are being socialized, hata mtoto mdogo, a small boy, akilia anaambiango hebu angalia wasichana wanakuchekelea ukilia. So this boy anakuwa brought up knowing that he should not show his emotions because crying is a way of showing the emotions that you're going through. Maybe you're going through something that is hurting. Sometimes pia unaweza lia kwa sababu umefurahi, but most of the times we cry because tunapitia mambo mengi sana ndani yetu. So this boy is brought up knowing that mwanaume hafai kulia. Mwanaume hafai kuwa this. Mwanaume hafai kuwa this. That is why in today's society unapata men are very aggressive and very violent because hawezi kulia ndivyo waseme chenye amefanya. So mimi tukikosana na wewe kwa sababu hawezi lia unanichapa lakini mimi nitalia. So men grow up knowing that they should not show their emotions. They should not even talk about their emotions. So what happens is, see all these things tunasema ukipitia mambo mengi na unaweka ndani yako. Unajua it's like a pressure cooker.
Then ina pile ni kama tu pressure cooker. Siku moja unaona pressure cooker inafikanga mahali inatoa hiyo steam because it is too much inside. But then for this person hana mahali pa kutoa hizo vitu zote. So amekuwa na stress, amekuwa na vitu mingi. Maybe men have so many issues that they also go through. Relationships tunasemanga it will end up in premium tears. Tunaona tu the lady but then don't look at the man. So this man amepitia mambo mingi sana. But then si kama pressure cooker kwa sababu yeye hata nini. So what happens? Analipuka. So ile siku atalipuka, they become aggressive, they become very violent, they engage in crime, they engage in drugs because they don't have an outlet for their emotions. Mara zingine unapata, they have even committed suicide because there's nobody you can tell. Unakaa hivi unajiambia, mimi kama Wakaba, mimi siwezi ambia watu, zile mashida napitia hapana. It is not like that, a man should not. Unaona watu unajiambia, siwezi lia. So, hizo vitu zote zinakaa ndani yako. So one day you will wake up and unashanga. Hii maisha, what is the use of this life? Unakuwa hopeless na unakuwa helpless. So unaangalia unaona, let me just take my life away. So that is why sometimes we see men becoming more suicidal than women. But generally, women have more mental health issues than men. But women have an outlet. Wanajuanga kusema. When it comes to even seeking help, it is easier for me as a woman kwenda kwa counselor nimwambie I'm having these issues. But when it comes to a man, unakaa hivi unajiambia
Sasa shida zangu niende niambie mtu mwingine. So women have more mental health issues but they deal with them better than the men.
No, unapata most of the cases youth in campus the comrade power theory we are very strong and so kumekuwa na cases mingi sana they are committing suicide. There is boyfriend and girlfriend unapata kijana ameua msichana because of I think imekuwa affect sana the young people and especially not the men. So you are saying it is very very okay not to be okay.
It's true. It is very okay not to be okay.
Na pia ni vizuri kuwa na ule rafiki mwenye you can tell something. You can unajitoa tu. Well, no, in Kenya do you have the organization or do you have the specialist? No, why you are one of them, the counselors. Unapata kuna watu wanakujaga kwa kuambia now I'm depressed ama they just ama niwe tu una identify unaona huyu mtu ako so depressed. Kuna imefika that kiwango ya watu tunaweza kuja kuambia mtu ninapitia this ama ni kunyamaza and then nafika mahali naona it is now the end of my life.
Okay, what has happened? Unaona the good thing with mental health awareness, especially like no, this month we start, the whole month is dedicated to mental health awareness. So what happens is that when people become aware that these problems are there and they are not the only ones experiencing this problem, and then also during the awareness month, people are awareness is created on where you can get the services, where you can get the help when you have some mental health issues. And also like the way we're discussing today, we are talking about unaweza identify aje mtu mwenye akona some health issue, mental health issues ama hata yeye mwenyewe anaweza jua aje kama akona some mental health issues. So when awareness is created, then people become aware, because without awareness then people assume that sometimes tunaonanga tu mtu kwa barabara unaanza kusema unaona sijui unaanza kusema huyu ni wazimu. Unajua tunasemanga kila mtu ni wazimu akifanya kitu kibaya. But then when awareness is created, then unaweza kuidentify hata mimi maybe niko na some of these issues, na when we are creating awareness pia tunasemanga where can you get the help from. And sasa hiyo swali ndio umeniuliza, like do you have organizations, do you have mental health practitioners? So when it comes to mental health issues, kuna various practitioners when you are deal na mental health issues. Kuna psychologists. Psychologists wanajaribu ku understand the behavior of people. Watu wengi huko nje wanasemanga wewe unanisoma akili. Kwa sababu unaweza fanya kitu mtu akuulize, so unasema unanisoma akili. So psychologists out there ndio in quote watu wanaitanga watu wanasoma akili ya mtu, because wanajaribu kuelewa nini inafanyika kwa akili yako ndivyo behave the way una behave. Nini inafanyika kwa akili yako ndivyo uongee vile unaongea. Ndivyo ufikirie vile unafikiria. So that is what psychologists do. That is one category of mental health practitioners. Then kuna wale tunaitanga mental health counselors. Mental health counselors deal with general life issues that bring us stress. Like we can discuss about stress, we can discuss about relationships that bring stress, maybe academic issues, we can discuss that. Maybe we can discuss about finances. So generally, mental health counselors discuss general issues that can lead to some mental health conditions. Kuna wale tunaita psychiatrist. Psychiatrist ni a medical doctor mwenye amesomea mambo za mental health issues. So ukienda kwa psychiatrist, unaweza enda because of something that maybe unajua vile tunasemanga sijui mtu amerukwa na akili. So ukienda kwa psychiatrist anajaribu ku understand ni kwa nini, unajua hiyo kuruka akili. In layman's language tunasemanga ni kuruka akili. But then ni kuna vitu mingi sana zinafanyika ndani yako ndivyo una behave. So unaona mahali psychologist unaingia. Nini inafanyika kwa akili yako ndivyo behave the way una behave. Tukiona mtu akiokota makaratasi tunasemanga huyo ni mwenda wazimu. Lakini akienda kwa psychiatrist anataka kujua ni nini inafanyika kwa huyu mtu, ni dawa gani naweza mpatia, na ni nini naweza fanya ndivyo the rest of the community siendelee kusuffer from the same consequences. So that is what a psychiatrist does. So psychiatrist ukienda kwake atakupatia dawa. Lakini sasa mimi kama counselor siwezi kupatia dawa. Maybe nikiona kuna issue yenye uko nayo yenye inahitaji ya psychiatrist nitakurefer kwake ndivyo yeye akupatie dawa. Then kuna wale tunaitanga pastoral counselors. Pastoral counselors, most of them wanakuanga in a religious setting. Wako kwa kanisa. Tunapatanga pia kuna mapasta wenye hawajasomea counseling lakini pia wanasaidia watu. But when you are a pastoral counselor unafaa kuangalia these issues zenye zina affect mtu from a religious perspective. So it is important huyu counselor, huyu pastor akuwe amesomea counseling ndivyo ajue ku-identify huyu mtu ana behave hivi, huyu mtu anafikiria hivi. Then from a religious perspective nitamsaidia aje. Tuna wale tunaita family and marriage therapist. kuko na shida wewe kama mimi tuseme mimi na bwana yangu tuko na shida. So tukiwa na hiyo shida, it is good to go to somebody mwenye anaelewa family dynamics.
Sure.
Maybe wewe ni mzazi na uko na watoto na mko na shida na wao. So unajaribu kuelewa family dynamics zenye zinafanya mkue na hiyo shida. So the best person kwenda kwake ni mtu mwenye ana deal na families and marriages. So we have many different types of counselors, and then kuna wale watu wako, we call addiction professionals. We call them addiction counselors. Maybe somebody has used drugs for a long period of time, imeanza kuaffect the way ana behave, the way ana whatever. So this person, and maybe huyu mtu pia anataka kutoka kutumia drugs. So the best person kwenda kwake ni addictions counselor. An addictions counselor ata identify the way the drugs are affecting you, the effect zimekuwa nayo kwa mwili, and probably they also do something in of pharmacology. So pia this addictions counselor pia anaweza jua ni dawa gani unaweza tumia ndivyo usiendelee kuwa na the effects of the drugs. So we have many mental health whatever specialists. When it comes to organizations, we have a lot of NGOs in this country that help to create awareness and also help people to understand mental health issues. So kuna watu wengi, there are so many organizations. The government pia is actually in the year 2019 there was a task force in iliformiwa to discuss the mental health issues. And according to the task force walisema mental health should be declared as a national emergency. Because kuna vitu mingi sana. Then sasa coronavirus ikakuja na vitu mingi sana, and then they made things worse. Because if you look at the COVID period, there are so many things zenye zimetokezea. Watu wanauana, sijui watu wanafanya nini, sijui watu wanafanya nini. There are so many things zenye zimefanyika, zenye sasa zimefanya tujue kwamba mental health illness is there in our country. Kitambo tulikuwa tunaona kama haiko, lakini sasa imetokezea kwa sababu ya corona. Unakaa kwa nyumba, you're not even sure that tomorrow you will get out, you're not very sure. Unajua ni kitu imekuja mgeni. It doesn't, okay, like last year there was no vaccine. So unaona tu ugonjwa imekuja inaua watu, lakini hakuna vaccine, hakuna anything. So sometimes you keep thinking hata mimi nitaenda. All those kinds of things.
No, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the cases zimekuwa zikipanda sana kwa sababu now the economy iko chini.
Exactly.
There is no food, there is hakuna kwenda shuleni, uhalifu umekuwa mwingi, the young people are using now the drugs.
Wewe mwenyewe umefanyia kazi nyumbani, labda hata wewe na bibi mnaonananga mkitoka mkiingia job na nini, so hata hamuelewani, but then mnakaa so that at this point mnaanza kuona hata makosa ya mwingine kwa sababu mko pamoja all the time. Maybe hata hujai kana watoto wako, hata hujui wanasoma, unajuanga tu wanakujanga na report form at the end of the term, but then haujui how it is. So sasa wewe umeambiwa sasa fundisha huyo mtoto. Maybe shuleni unaonanga kama this teacher is very strict, lakini akikuja nyumbani unashindwa sasa mimi nitafanyia huyu mtoto na this person is not even obeying me. So it has come with a lot of issues, and saizi ndio tumeona mental health is really an issue.
And ndio tunafaa now create now the awareness to the people out there, especially now that we are having the COVID-19 pandemic, wakuwe aware about now the and thank God that this month is May. It is mental health awareness, and we are great that you agreed to be our guest today.
Okay.
And you at least to make aware about that one.
Okay.
So to the parent, how would you like to tell them, especially now na watoto wao, kwa sababu parent wamekuwa akisema vijana the teenage hawa ni kiburi imeanza kupanda. Mzazi unaweza mwambia aje?
Mimi naweza ambia mzazi jaribu kuelewa mtoto wako. Na ndivyo uelewe mtoto wako, fanya mtoto wako akuwe rafiki yako. Wazazi wengi tunaona kama watoto wetu ni tuwaambie wafanye, wakati mwingine watoto wanatuona kama sisi ni maadui kama wazazi. So kama kunaweza kuwa na uhusiano mzuri between the parents and the child, then it is going to be easy for the parent to understand the child. Then the other thing I would say about the parents, pia I would encourage them to also understand their own mental health status, because as a parent, kama your mental health status is not okay, then that is exactly what you're going to give to the child, because the child gets whatever the parents gives to them. So I would like to encourage parents to really try and understand their children, and to also become aware of themselves as pertains to their mental health status. Yeah.
And to the young people unaweza waambia aje?
To the young
when
people,
saizi wako into relationship, they are using drugs kujaribu kutoa hiyo mawazo, because they assume the moment nimetake now the drug, the moment nimekunywa hiyo pombe, nimefanya something nitakuwa nimesahau na inaongeza now the problem au ina reduce. How do you like to tell the mtu mwenye akona stress ama mwenye akona issue?
I would like to tell the youth, ukiwa na shida, drugs is not a solution. Drugs might be there to give you that temporary relief from whatever you're going through. But eventually what these drugs do to you, zina make the problems that you have worse. Because like for example, hebu take a kid mwenye ameamua leo nitakunywa pombe kwa sababu niko na shida zangu. This kid multiply the problems because akona ile shida yenye alikuwa nayo, tena amekunywa pombe, so ni kumaanisha ametumia pesa yenye probably hakuwa nayo ama yenye angeatumia kufanya kitu kingine, lakini sasa ameitumia kwa hii. So I would like to tell the youth, drugs kill. The good thing is that now we have a lot of there's a lot of awareness in the community, and we are trying to increase the awareness in the community, and we have a lot of people are coming out. Let them come out. People are coming out. People are talking about these things, and there's a Facebook page. No, there's a page. They call themselves Befriend Us Kenya. They deal with youth and suicide issues. So they can always call that number. They have a number on their website. It's called Befriend Us Kenya. Talk about the issues, and it is just toll-free. Then there's also the issue with Red Cross. I know they also have a toll-free number where somebody can call when they feel that they're in a crisis. Then out here, there are many counselors. Maybe what they can do is to identify. And then once they identify, then they can get help from there. And then maybe they can also, I like encouraging people to write about the issues that they have. You know, when you have an issue, just write it up. And then when you write it up, sometimes just get some temporary relief, and then with time you can be able to open up on that issue with another person. So I'd really encourage them. Then we also talk about youth becoming influencers amongst themselves. Because we say that if youth can influence each other negatively, then they can also use the same power to influence each other positively. So if they would, if youth would be able to stand out and stand up for others, then I think that would be okay. Try to influence each other positively. Try to be there for the other people.
Okay, do you think the government is doing enough as far as now the mental health illness is concerned?
So far the government is trying. They have even come up with a task force, and as I said, in 2019 they formed a task force to look into the mental health issues. And then we also have the government is trying, especially the Ministry of Health. Actually, currently the psychologists and the counselors, they are now trying to establish, to have them registered under the Ministry of Health, so that, because you know, you cannot separate mental health and physical health, because if you're mentally unstable, then physically you also cannot function. You see, like the way we said that when you have a mental illness, you try to withdraw, you try to whatever, you stop becoming productive. So you cannot separate mental health from physical health. Yeah. So the government is trying its best. They have formed a task force. They have tried to bring together all the counselors and psychologists so that we have a common body, and so that we can be able to now, you know, now when people don't know where the resources are, or when everybody has their own things, it is very hard for you to identify. But then once there's an organization, you can always know where to look for help.
So in the line of duty, yenye umekuwa ukifanya kazi, have you ever come across a scenario or a case yenye imekuaga, yenye ilikuwa so critical, and ulideal nayo aje? Ama a story yenye ilikutouch and you were like,
yeah, I've in the course of duty, I've you know that sometimes you get a client and then they have the issues that they have, and then you discuss. And one of these things is probably this person wants to commit suicide. Then mmekuja na mmeongea na yeye, and then they later attempt. Unajua sasa unaona kwani mimi sikusaidia, you know, sometimes you start wondering, did I give the necessary help that was supposed to be given? So sometimes it happens that hata wewe mwenyewe unaweza kuwa na client mwenye somebody has a mental health issue yenye hata wewe mwenyewe unashindwa kumsaidia. Lakini sasa ukishindwa kumsaidia, the best thing is to, like when you are a mental health practitioner, you don't know it all. So the best thing to do is, if you don't know something, always refer to another person who can help that person, because you cannot know everything as pertains to mental health. So sometimes unapatananga na hao, you try to do your best. Somebody came with suicidal ideations alikuwa anataka kufanya, and then ana attempt na already mshajaribu kuongea na yeye. So it can be tough.
So
and then also there's this law, you know, in Kenya we have a law where attempting suicide is a criminal offense. So pia sometimes hao watu wanaona nimejaribu, nimeshindwa, kwa nini nisijaribu tena nisipatikane na the loop.
Wow, now before tumalizie now the show. The consultation, kuna kuoga na any consultation fee ama mtu akitaka kukupata ama before that anyone mwenye anatusikiza saa hizi amekuwa hayuko job, COVID ndio hiyo, economy imekuwa juu, na wamesema no, it is now the time, hii maisha sioni haja ya kuishi. How do you like to tell someone mwenye ame lose hope kabisa, anaona now this is the end of my life, I need now to take my life now? Unaweza muadvise aje mtu mwenye anatusikiza saa hizi? The young people, women, everyone mwenye saa hizi anapitia anything yenye ako karibu kufika mwisho.
Kwa wale watu wenye wanapitia hayo yote, what I would like to encourage you is that if you look deeper into yourself, you will find something that is going to give you a hope for tomorrow. I want to tell people that sometimes tomorrow is always brighter than today. You might struggle so much to see the tomorrow, but sometimes the tomorrow is brighter than today. I know there are people who are hopeless, and maybe they're feeling hopeless, helpless, and they're thinking that this life should come to an end. I would like to encourage them to try. You know, it is hard to try. It is hard to try, I know that. But I would like to encourage them. Probably they can try to open up to somebody who, and you know, when you open up to somebody, ukiongea kitu kidogo, ni kama tu, unajua ukiongea, hiyo maneno ama whatever it is comes out of your heart. It might not, somebody might not even help you, but whatever it is comes out of your heart. So I'd really like to encourage them to talk out, to speak up. Speak up about whatever they're going through. They can speak up to their friends. They can speak up to their relatives. They can also seek counseling services. I know in Naivasha we have the district hospital. I know they offer free counseling services. When you go to the hospital, they'll refer you to the counselors and they'll get the free counseling services. I would also like to encourage them to know that the challenges that they go through are normal challenges that human beings face. So it is not just unique to them, and therefore they don't just look at themselves as hii shida ni yangu, so wacha nikufe nayo. Hizo mashida ziko na watu wengi. They might not affect us the same way. Unajua kila mtu anakuanga affected in a different way. They will not affect you the same way, but then it is good to know that there's hope, and people should seek for help. Most people fail to seek for help because either they are not aware they have mental health issues, either they fear the stigma, either it is about the cost, because seeking professional help comes with a cost. So sometimes people fear the cost and all that. So I would encourage people to try and seek the help, because you know, unless you seek the help, you will not know what it takes to seek that help. During the Mental Health Awareness Month, there are some organizations that will even go ahead and give mental health help. So you will not pay for it, but then you will get the professional services.
Okay. So anyone mwenye anapitia akona that mental health illness na nataka ku reach out to you, do you have any contact or any social media account yenye anaweza reach out to you? Maybe you can be able to tell them.
Maybe personally I can give out my number, and then what they can do, anybody who has a mental health issue, you can go to the website and Google Kenya Professional Counseling Association. You will get a list of all the counselors that you have and their contacts. So from wherever anybody is, you can always get a contact of a mental health professional. Then you can also seek mental health counseling services from most of the churches will have these services, most schools, most educational institutions. So I would encourage the youth to go to, when they're in school, they can always seek for mental health counseling issues from, for mental health help from any of these facilities.
Sure. Now, before we come to the end of the show, do you have any final remarks?
My final remarks are that in Kenya, 1 in every 10 people has a mental health issue. So don't look at it like it is just you who has it. Open up, stand out, speak out, and get the help that you can get. That is what I can say. And I would also like to say that there's no health without mental health. Physical health alone is not enough. So make sure that you're mentally healthy.
Wow, thank you very much for coming. And vile umesikia, there is no health without mental health.
Yeah.
And it is very, very okay not to be okay. So vijana, let us speak out. Ni vizuri kujiongea anything tunapitia. In campus, let us speak out. And thank you very much for watching the show. And to our host today, amekuwa Kefa Bufarumor. Thank you very much. Behind the cameras, amekuwa ni Kina Nafasi. Shiko amekuwa kufanya makeup. Banzu, thank you for the show. Without you guys, the show haingekuwa very, very successful.